Hello, everybody. I'm Keith Spera from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Welcome to Let's Talk. In 1949, Louis Armstrong reigned as King Zulu, rolling through the streets of New Orleans at the front of the Zulu Parade. My guest today is the successor to that legacy. Early on Fat Tuesday, he too will lead Zulu from uptown to downtown, continuing a tradition that dates to 1916. It is my pleasure to welcome King Zulu 2024, Melvin Labat. Mr. Labat, welcome to Let's Talk, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure.
So, as you go around town and you hear the Professor Longhair song, Go to the Mardi Gras, and he sings the line about somebody will show you the Zulu King, do you turn to people and say, that's me?
I haven't yet, but it's getting to that point. What it does is I realize that that's me that they're talking about. That I'm the Zulu King, and that realization sets in. Like this morning, we're here with you. That is really a reality. That is me today. You know. So it has taken a while to resonate that I'm that guy, but through our historian and Darren Meyer, the guy who heads this, who coordinates these, they made me realize that it's been 75 years, you know, since Louis Armstrong, and now to me, and it resonates a little, and every now and then I say, wow, I did this, you know. So it's interesting.
Well, you know, yet also in that song, you know, it talks about, you know, going down to St. Claude and Dumaine, which doesn't exist anymore. I mean, that intersection was covered by Armstrong Park.
Yes.
But, I mean, I don't know. If I were you, I would go down there and try and find that spot and take a picture standing at St. Claude and Dumaine, like the song says.
And I did take one, but actually it was on Orleans and Claiborne, because we actually have some murals underneath the bridge there of Zulu members.
Ah, right.
And so I did take some there. But now that you mentioned it, I may go to, you know, Dumaine
St. Claude, Dumaine.
St. Claude and Dumaine and do that.
That's right. I mean, that corner is associated with the Zulu King, you know,
Yes,
thanks to Professor Longhair. Some folks may not know how Zulu selects its king. You know, all the different crews use different methods. You know, Rex has its internal process where it chooses someone, you know, based on kind of the legacy within the organization. Endymion picks a name out of a hat, you know, out of a bin by random. You guys elect your king, which is a little bit different process. I think y'all actually even use the actual voting machines.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
That's official. That makes it official. You use the real voting machines that are used in Louisiana elections, right?
That and the other part of the process is mail-in votes for members that may not live here or may not be able to get out. So that is part, but the largest part of the voting is through the voting machines that we rent or lease from the state to use. And that is the process that we actually use today.
So nobody can talk about stolen elections. You guys do it with the voting machines.
It's the voting machines.
It's all legit.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And now that you guys, the candidates for king, you guys wage pretty extensive campaigns. I mean, it's like a big deal, the campaigns to become a Zulu king, right?
Yes, it is. For the most part, we campaign for at least a year. And between parties, going to meet with different crews to speak with them. Gifts.
Gifts? Is that bribery? Is that what that's called?
No. They're small gifts, but you basically would have one for every member. So you wouldn't just have one for a certain group. You basically would do, we have 800 members, you'd have basically close to 800 gifts that you want to give out. And one of the methods we use is we would take the year before souvenir booklet, so as you get a gift, you would sign your name or initial by your name, by your picture. And you know you gave that person a gift, and it has a method to it. Then you try to figure out who are really with you. You know, you think you have by looking at those pictures. Say, well, this guy came, this one didn't. In some instances, you end up with extra gifts that you have at your home and you did not give out. You know, for whatever the reason may be.
Did I see a picture of you hosted during the campaign, you hosted some sort of dinner, it seemed like at maybe at Restaurant Revolution, where it looked like people got Zulu watches of some sort or something?
Yes, they did. That was for the Kings.
Past Kings?
The past Kings. I hosted a dinner at Revolutions, and I gave them each the gifts I gave to the former Kings was a watch with a crown on it. And I actually had an extra one for, I was confident in myself, but it was some great guys that I ran against for King this year. And whoever won was going to get the extra watch that I had. And it was just fortunate, you know, God had it in the plan that it was me. I got lucky.
The results of the vote are announced at a big Zulu street party outside of the headquarters on Broad Street there, and the crew officials are up on the balcony on the second story reading the results of the vote. I saw a video of last year's results when Nick Spears was anointed, and he was doused with champagne by his supporters. Did that happen to you as well?
Yes, it did. And I probably you couldn't tell the champagne from the tears. Because it was such elation, and the stress was gone, was relieved at that point from weeks, so maybe a couple of months of campaigning. So I don't know which was more, the tears or the champagne, but I did get doused with that, water, you know. So it was a mixture, you know, that day for me, and highly emotional. You know, it was because you realize that your peers, you know, decided that you were that guy, you know, for this year. And it means a lot, you know, to sit here and speaking with you, because one of the things I always say is I always thank the membership, because without these guys, I'm a Zulu member, but not Zulu King. So these guys, you know, just thought enough of me to elect me as, you know, King Zulu 2024.
No, it is. It's a great honor because, like you said, it's a peer award, and in order to get there, I mean, you've put in your time with the organization. I mean, you've been in a member of Zulu for
26
years.
Yes.
Yeah, a long time. And you've held offices. You were Sergeant of Arms.
Sergeant still currently. Probably not acting. Some guys are acting for me, but I'm currently my last term as Sergeant at Arms. I chair the Toys for Tots. I participate in most of the activities that are community-based. That's something I really enjoy doing, the community. A couple of things I did campaigning was I fed the homeless. If you look at Zulu, 95% of the members, we can go and get whatever we choose to get, you know, whether it's food, home. Everybody that we see on the street doesn't have that opportunity. So one of the things I did was I fed the homeless, and I felt great doing it, you know, and I can sit here today and tell you it worked, because I'm sitting here talking with you this morning, you know, about this. But I do a lot in the community through Zulu. I've been Santa Claus quite a few years. I think they picked me because I was the biggest, you know, and I enjoy that. And what's the most interesting part about playing Santa is places that I did where I was playing Santa, I knew the people there, but they didn't know who I was. And I just thought that was so hilarious, because I would call them by name, and they were like, well, who is this guy, you know? And it was actually, you know, me playing Santa, and that is actually how I got started in the Toys for Tots, playing Santa as for Zulu and for the government, for Florida Federal, who I work for. You know, that's one of the things I do. We do toy drives, and I also volunteer with the city, Silences Violence, you know, the Sheriff's Department. I just enjoy community-based activities. Absolutely,
absolutely. And, you know, and part of that, I mean, I think your involvement, I mean, in those community activities, you know, you are a guy who is right now a Zulu King. You know, you're experiencing the best of what New Orleans has to offer, but I mean, in your life, you've also tragically experienced some of the worst of what New Orleans has to offer. Your son, Melvin, was shot to death in 2012 here. So does that tragedy, does that kind of help fuel your community involvement with all these organizations?
It does, and I will say this. For 3 years, I was a wreck, and I knew I needed help. And what I can say is that my brothers in Zulu, my family, and the Sheriff's Department, along with Cedric Richmond, they stayed in my ear saying, now, you need to do this, you know, you can do this. Because my son, my only child, was murdered the day before his 28th birthday. And the next weekend was Father's Day. So I was in bad shape, and I knew I needed help. And because of my family and my belief in God, and my Zulu brothers and the sheriff's department, their program Silences Violence, that is how I got involved in that. I went to therapy, and it was a tragic time for me. And now, where I'm at now in life, and with my belief in God, I work now to help other people cope with it, because it's something, it never goes away. It gets better, but it never goes away. And I have moments.
Sure.
And one of the moments was when I was elected king. I knew my son would be proud of me, you know, to say, hey, you did it, you know. And I ask God sometime, just let me talk to him one more time, because I like to choke him, you know, a couple of times. But that was my baby, you know. That was my life.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Now, did he ride in Zulu as well? Did he participate in Zulu?
No, he didn't. He attended the ball several times, but you know, kids think they know more than you, you know.
Of course. And I have kids. I know. Yeah.
I understood. He didn't want to wear a tuxedo, and I told him, you don't have a tuxedo, you don't attend the ball. So he attended a couple of times, but he never got the opportunity to ride in Zulu.
Okay. But no, again, and that's a perfect example. You know, when you experience a tragedy like that, you know, it can. Part of the process of healing is doing good and using that tragedy to fuel you to do good things. And it sounds like that's kind of the direction where you've gone and how you've dealt with it now is being involved with all this stuff.
It isn't. I've joined a couple of the organizations to help families cope with that. I normally speak for the sheriff. They normally do an event on the bayou every year, and I'm normally there. Well, I've been there every year they've had it. So they do every Christmas around the holidays. They invite families. And for some reason, they always ask me, you know, to speak. And I'm like, you can get somebody else. I'm okay with that. You know, I just like to attend for a change. Just let me be a participant, you know. But I'm available whenever they ask me to. Other families may call and they say, hey, would you talk to? And I'll make sure I understand what they're dealing with, you know. One of the differences for me, I think, is that I've always wanted to be a grandfather. Because I always wanted to buy that noisemaker, a drum, a fire truck, whatever, so I could get, so that won't happen for me, and that is a reality that I've accepted, you know. But to go and talk to a family about a tragedy, and we have maybe 6 or 7 members of Zulu that have all experienced that same tragedy, and we do talk to each other, you know, quite a bit. One of the guys, Wilbur Thomas, Mr. Becknell, Judge Ron Scholes, the guy World, I don't know his real name, all I've ever known him in Zulu is World. And we all lost sons to murder in the streets of New Orleans. And we've done a couple of interviews on different news stations just to bring awareness, you know. And one of the things I tell kids is that you have to learn to listen with your eyes. If something doesn't look right, most of the time it isn't right.
That's right.
You know, walk away and live to fight another day, you know, or go and ask somebody that has a little more experience than you. And that is one of the messages that whenever I speak to kids, that I leave them with, you know, because if it doesn't look good, most of the time it isn't.
It probably isn't. No, absolutely. Yeah. If you're just tuning in, my guest today is Melvin Labat, the King Zulu 2024. Talking about being king, one of the great things is you get to have your own signature coconuts here, and you were kind enough to bring one today here. Yes, now, did you design the logo? Was this? Did you come up with this?
That and my 2 bosses, which are my sisters.
Your 2 bosses.
Yeah, they helped me design it, and the panther is my college alma mater, Purdue A&M. Our mascot is the panther.
Okay.
And that's where the panther comes from.
Okay. I went to Texas A&M, so right up the road.
20, 29, 20, 30 miles.
That's right. That's right. Right up the road. Now these are the ones. Are you going to be distributing these from the King's Float then?
Yes, I am. And actually, different events that I get booked at, that Darren booked me, and the other people, I bring one of those, and I'll give it to whoever in charge and say, "This is on you. I let you figure it out. If you keep it, I'm good with it. If you decide to." But yes, I do bring one with me.
No, these are great. And so, I don't, but do you actually? The king doesn't actually throw stuff.
No, I don't.
No, it's the other people on the float handle. You have you wave and
I wave,
the royal duties
and a scepter, and I'm learning how to use that now. I used it for the first time Sunday, so yes.
Getting scepter etiquette down.
Yes.
The scepter etiquette.
Yes.
You know, when I was a kid and when you were a kid, I mean, the coconuts were real. I mean, they were heavy coconuts. Now they're plastic, which I get. I mean, they're a lot safer, I guess, the plastic ones, and you can give away a lot more than the real ones.
They are. When I joined Zulu, they were real.
They were still real.
And I had many days of busted knuckles and cuts on your hands, shaving them, and until you got the right technique down. And everybody had their own way of doing it. So you would try someone else's way, and I can tell you it didn't work well. It didn't matter. Your hands and your knuckles were going to be really busted up. And when Zulu, and I say Zulu, whoever came up with the idea to drain the milk and shave it, I think it was one of the greatest things since peanut butter. Because it makes life a lot easier.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you know, now you have the Muse's shoe, and you know, Iris has the signature sunglasses, but the Zulu coconut, I mean, that was the thing that started this whole specialty throw phenomena in Mardi Gras. You know, that was the innovation. So, I mean, that's part of the legacy that now you're part of.
Yeah. Yes. I think I have about 1,000 this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
And I'm not sure that's enough. Yeah.
People, man, they love the coconuts. So
yes.
it's incredible. Now, do you do your own face paint on King's Day, or do you have somebody apply the makeup?
I have somebody actually. So when becoming king, I also have a friends and family float that, and some outside, but basically family that ride. So I have approximately 100 riders, and so I've hired someone to do everybody's face painting that day. It's just easier. In the old days in Zulu, and Darren probably knows this, you did your own. You went and bought your own makeup, and you did your own. But now, I guess because, well, one thing this year is more people, so I'm not painting their face, so that's not going to happen. So, and the old makeup, if it was a warm day on Mardi Gras, would run. The airbrush now, I think, is so much better. It doesn't run. It may not be the easiest to get off all the time, but it doesn't run at all, and it'll stay. You stay looking fresh most of the day.
And you referred to Darren Meyer,
Darren Meyer, yes,
has all the publicity for the crew. I didn't realize it. So it's the makeup it's a spray paint.
Well, you can do it either way. They have some which is the makeup. You use a sponge, and which is what I've used most of my years in Zulu. The sponge, and you have the white and the black, and you put the white eye on. Now with the spray, it's so much easier and faster, and it's less mess. It just leaves less of a mess when you're putting it on, because what we would do in the old days, I would do yours, you would do mine, and we'd move on. In some cases, folks did their own. I never got that good with it. So
you weren't the guy that they came to do.
No, I wasn't that person.
Did anybody other than Melvin do the makeup? Right,
I wasn't that person.
Yes. It's funny too. I mean, with the Zulu makeup, every now and then, like, somebody makes a controversy about, should they be doing this? It's it's too blackface, but it's too reminiscent of the blackface days. But the Zulu tradition, that's something. It's its own thing that has its own history and legacy and reasons for it.
And I think you said it. It's a tradition for us. Yeah. And if you go back and read the history, it tells you how we came about to that. And I think when you read the history and you think of 2024, we've advanced so. I mean, just what you said, everyone wants a coconut, but also everybody wants to see the Zulu tramp. So we've progressed so much from 26 years ago when I joined Zulu. I was so excited to tell everybody I'm riding in Zulu. I'm a Zulu member, and now folks ask me about it. But now when I say the king of Zulu, and they're like, "So you're really the king?" I say, "Yeah, that's what I am." The party we had Sunday, what was so interesting, I've seen it from the outside, but to see the Zulu tramps, 40 or 50 of these guys in their own costume with their makeup on. It's phenomenal, you know, where we've come from 1916 to now. And again, if people just take the time, and you can Google anything, just read the history of Zulu, you understand why we still do some of the things that we've always done since that time. It's pretty straightforward. I believe it is anyway.
Absolutely. You know, I got to say, I think the Zulu Tramps have more fun than anybody at Mardi Gras, quite frankly. Watching those guys, like, you know, I don't know. If I were you, I'd almost want to be a tramp more than the king, because those guys look like they have a blast. Were you ever You weren't ever?
I did.
You did? Isn't that fun?
It is on Mardi Gras Day. Now, I never did the dancing and all they do now. I wasn't that fleet of foot, but I did tramp on Mardi Gras Day several years. Even the other group we have in Zulu called the Walking Warriors, that dress up similar to the tramps. I've done it with those guys in the beginning, but the last 6 years I've been with the junior Zulus, the guys riding with the young guys that we mentor. It's about 80 of them we have. So I've been on the float with those guys the last 6 years, riding with those guys and watching these young guys have a blast, and just watching them when they see all the people on Jackson Avenue in St. Charles. Some of them are just blown away because they've never seen it from riding on the float. They've always seen it on the ground, and it's interesting to watch them.
You know, you talked earlier about how, you know, you won't necessarily be a grandfather, but you kind of are with those young members of Zulu. I mean, those guys, I mean, you're kind of the grandfather for those guys.
And you're absolutely right. At the church service that we had maybe a month ago, I invited them, and maybe 25 of them came, and it was good to see them dressed up, the young men that we mentor in Zulu. And some of them were like, Mr. Melvin, we want you back. And I say, well, maybe not this year, you know, maybe later on I can do this again. And I do plan to go back and work with them. I enjoy it.
Very good. We've just got a few minutes left here, but before we went on air, you were talking about your day job. You've worked for the Strategic Petroleum Reserve for 40 some odd years,
42 years.
42 years?
Yeah, actually it's Floor Federal who does the contract now, and for 42 years I actually was hired almost out of college, and it's been great. You know, it's the nation's oil reserve. When I tell sometime when kids, they'll say, well, what do you do? And when I tell them, the United States government has oil stored underground in salt domes, because that is where most of the oil is stored.
Right.
And this all started in 1975 with the oil embargo. The government said, well, you know what, we'll never go through this again. We'll have our own. And that is how this came about. And I've been there 42 years, and it's been great, you know.
Well, now, so you're saying you have to take a lot of time off to be the Zulu King, because you have a ton of engagements, social engagements, and speaking engagements and what have you. But you've been there so long that you've accumulated a lot of hours.
Probably one of 5 employees there that have been there that long. It's maybe 5 guys been there longer than me, 42 years. So my time and the way we've changed over years on way to accumulate time, but because it's never taken away, I have over 1,000 hours of leave, you know, so I can use any of it when I choose to, and they know I have no problem if I have to go to work on a weekend, which we normally close, but because I manage buildings in these warehouses, if something happens, I'm there. So they know I'm still available, with the exception of Mardi Gras this year. I'm not that accessible right now.
No, you're not available. So those 1,000 hours, that's sick leave, vacation days, do they count?
And we have personal leave also.
And so they don't have a classification for reigning as the King of Zulu then? Those aren't specific hours that you get off? No,
we don't. Not yet anyway. But I think I'm going to ask when I go back. But with the amount of leave I have, I'm fine. I'll be fine. And they understand that this is such an honor, you know, bestowed upon me, that if they need me, they know how to reach out to me. And I have a great team. You know, they're able to carry the load right now, and they know where I am, and if they need me, they know how to reach out to me.
Except on a certain day.
Yeah, well, probably from next Wednesday
through the whole span of the week leading up to Mardi Gras.
I won't be accessible.
You are out of touch.
Yes.
Well, Melvin Labat, this has been a really great discussion. I hope you have great weather on Fat Tuesday.
Thank you.
I hope the coconuts go flying and people are as excited as they always are to get them. I'm sure they will be.
I think so. Yes.
And I hope you get your scepter technique.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
All right. Well, great. Well, enjoy your reign and have a great time.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Well, once again, I am Keith Spera from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. This has been Let's Talk. We'll see you again next week.